Friday at the WM, you better mix in a water. The party is in full throes, and it was a party of some of the bigger names threw numbers at it. Yeah, we had a beer snake. Kyle Porter, Rick Gehman here as we take a look at the action here. Round one wrapped up early on Friday morning, and here we are taking a look at the round two action. Sungjae Im chasing the leader, Jason Day, through one round, but Sungjae was making a move there at the par 4 10th. Chips in for birdie, and you could tell he was starting to feel the vibes, and the vibes kept on rolling as Sungjae here at the par 3 16th, Rick, gets the crowd going from 34 feet.
Big desert guy.
Big desert guy. A desert golfer. We went from dome golf to desert golf. Wherever it is, Sungjae can play. He's T4 at 7 under. Still not done with his round two. They will wrap up round two on Saturday morning. How about Adam Hadwin? Another golfer that didn't finish round two, but looked impressive here. The Canadian only has one career win. Drains one there from 29 feet. Wyndham Clark, 35-1 through round one, and trying to make a move here at the par 3 12th out of the greenside bunker, and that'll do. Moves to 3 under at that point, and then looking at the big bird at the par 5 third, Clark putting from 42 feet away and just trickles one down there, KP, and some good golf being played by big names and maybe some lesser knowns as well.
Yeah, he is not somebody that we've talked about a ton this week, but he's only 3 back going into Saturday.
Yeah, T4, 7 under, shot a 4 under 67 in round two. And speaking of big names, none bigger in the game right now, I would argue, than one Rambo, John Rahm, hometown favorite here. Maybe not hometown, but went to ASU.
How good is this?
Whole lot of positivity being felt around his groupings, and Rahm there from the green side. It doesn't get much better than that.
That was the biggest roar of the day.
That it was. We heard it, you felt it, and then more roars here at 16. Rahm, good doesn't do it justice, especially the way he's playing right now. Finished round two, 8 under, 1 eagle, 4 birdies, and a bogey. He's T2 at 8 under. And here you look, him rounding out some of that action as he did start out on the back nine, the par 3 7th, saves par. So, KP, we talked a lot about it, the ability to grind John Rahm. His good is just about as good as anybody on tour. We know his great is great, but he's going to have to track down Scottie Scheffler, who was plotting it around and circling the card all day long. Started on the back nine as well. Scheffler from 23 feet. Just, give him a hand. Give him a hand. Just what he does. Scheffler now at 7 under. We find him at the par 4 second from the right fairway bunker there, 140 yards to a makeable range. Would knock that in for birdie to get to 8. And when this guy gets going, Rick, I mean, his foot on the pedal is something that is truly spectacular over this last year of golf that he's played.
I watched this one live. This was the exclamation point on the round. He was hitting it within a hula hoop seemingly every hole.
7 birdies, no bogeys, a clean scorecard, and your leader as we turn towards the weekend again. Plenty of golfers going to wrap up their second round on Saturday morning, and then we will cut it down. We will get off and running, and it will be Saturday at the WM. But as we stand, Scottie Scheffler, 10 deep and 2 clear as this leaderboard takes shape in Phoenix. Welcome into the First Cut podcast alongside the regulars, Kyle Porter and Rick Gehman. I'm here and fortunate to be here, fellas. Joe Musso running point on this one. Shout out to the listeners, first and foremost.
They're passionate.
We got to say it, that they are. We had a Tiger commitment. We had a streaker. And we have a leaderboard taking form on brand in the best way here at the WM Phoenix Open here on Friday. Round 2 not complete just yet. Again, just like today, we'll have golfers out early, cleaning up the final edition of the second round. But guys, we got to start with Scottie Scheffler. 10 under, our defending champ, following a bogey-free 7 under 64. Scheffler gaining nearly 6 strokes on the field. Rick, where did he separate himself most here in round 2?
Yeah, you mentioned it. Bogey-free. He's made 1 bogey this week. That was 32 holes ago, and with the winds and everything that's kicking up, we've seen a lot of squares, but not on Scottie Scheffler's card. The way he's doing it is the way he's been playing golf for the last 6 months. Without a victory, he's been tee to greening these golf courses to death, and he's done it again through 2 rounds. This week, he's gained already over 9 strokes from tee to green. It's 3 more than anybody else in the field. He's gaining less than a stroke with the putter. Kyle, we've talked about this countless times, and I think I've been on the record. I think I've said the next time Scottie Scheffler gains 2 strokes with the putter, he's going to win a golf tournament. Now, he's got a John Rahm buzzsaw to consider, but that's a pretty clean 64.
Yeah, that's a Steph Curry scorecard. A lot of threes on that scorecard. 3, 3, 3, 3, 3, 3.
He got to the hoop there at 12.
3. He did. That's a Draymond number right there. And then 33 on the back. So more threes. I mean, Scottie was phenomenal, and this is, the thing we were kind of talking about a couple minutes ago is this is very different than what he did at the Phoenix Open last year. This time last year, Joe, after 36, or however close we get to being done with 36, nobody's even thinking about Scottie Scheffler. Mm-hmm. He's barely making the cut. He's playing early on Saturday, and then he goes on to win the golf tournament. So he's in a very different position in this tournament, but he's also in a very different position in his career, right? Think about winning 4 times at the beginning of last year, where he's at. I think he's second in the OWGR right now. I thought it was interesting. He got asked afterwards, does it bother you that everybody's talking about Rahm and Rory being the 2 best players in the world coming into this week? And he said, not really. I agree with that. Like, they are. And
one of us.
Scottie's just, and he said this, remember at the Open when he was like, I'm rooting for Rory as well. Mm-hmm. Like, he's the nicest assassin in the world, and really has an opportunity to go out and get, it wouldn't be the biggest win of his career. Obviously won the Masters last year and won a bunch of big tournaments, but it would be a nice kind of kickstart to him. After not having won, I mean, he hadn't won in almost a year now. His last win was the Masters.
It would be his first successful title defense because this was his first career victory a year ago. You mentioned it there, a little bit of the wisdom and what it might take to get it done this week, KP. Wisdom, sometimes you take the foot off the pedal. How aggressive do you expect Scottie to be here over the final 36 holes of this tournament, knowing he is at the top of that leaderboard and not dancing on the cut line the way he was last year heading into Saturday?
Yeah, I think he's going to still go after flags. He's not. I mean, he's smart, but to be. I was looking at last 50 rounds. It's Rory number 1 and Scottie number 2 in terms of ball striking. That's really good company to be in. And so I don't think, especially with the guys he's got behind him, he's got Rahm just behind him, you've got Xander, you've got Spieth is up there, you've got Sungjae. I mean, it's not a list where you get conservative and kind of cruise to victory. I think he's going to continue to go after flags.
He better not let off the gas. Look in the rear view, John Rahm lurking. Yeah, that's going to be a problem. So it's a different style, not only statistically, but the way that he's going to go to sleep at the halfway point for him this year compared to last year. But he's going to have to go out and make some birdies, or he's going to have to go out and not spend some strokes. We expect things to get more firm, more fast over the weekend, and that's kind of what he was able to take advantage of last year. So it might not be going out, firing at flags, putting a bunch of circles on the card. He's certainly going to need a handful of those, but not spending strokes, which honestly, that's what Scottie's so good at. He has such a sharp short game.
Sharp short game. I'm curious, Rick, is Scottie we have this conversation a lot, or some variation of it. Is he the most underrated guy in the world right now? Because coming into this, he hasn't won in what feels, it hasn't been that long, but it feels like a long time. And yet, if you look at his numbers, if you look at his ball striking, his tee to green, his approach play, it's unbelievable.
He is self-inflicted underrated because the advanced metrics are there, but because he is, like you said, kind of like the quiet, the nicest assassin in the world. He never even got, I don't want to say credit for being the number 1 player in the world, but it never really felt like he was the number 1 player in the world because we've seen so many guys over the years that would stomp your throat. And not to say that Scottie doesn't have that in there somewhere. He's just such a nice guy, and it's hard to kind of get to that.
All right, but let's contextualize that because I think when you do have the success, that Scottie had last season, we tend to look at the sample size and we make it more than what it is. 12 months ago, we're talking about a guy who did not have a PGA Tour win, had some successful starts in the year prior, but Scottie Scheffler and the sample size we're looking at is about a year long. And when you look at the rest of this leaderboard, you're talking about stalwarts of this game. What does that tell you about Scheffler? And maybe what does that tell you about us, KP, and the way that we maybe consume the golf that is played by these younger names?
Well, I think what happens, and we've talked about this too, I think what happens when you win when you win the majority of your events in such a condensed period of time it creates all sorts of expectation issues, I guess, if you want to call them. So let's pretend like, I mean, even coming into 2022, Scheffler, I remember talking about this, Rick. We were talking about him of like, hey, this guy's a top 10 guy statistically, and he kind of needs to win at some point. And then all he did for 6 straight weeks was win. And so I think, Joe, like if he, let's pretend like he had spread those wins out, like he wins one in the fall of 2021. He wins, let's say this one, the Masters, and then the BMW.
Or just call it 5 wins in 12 months, which is what it could be if he wins this week, spread out, right? Just 5 wins in 12 months.
I think the condensed nature of it just messes with expectations, not only for us, but of the player himself.
For sure. But internally, Scottie Scheffler, whether it's 12 months, 24 months, 5 wins, 10 wins, whenever they've come, he looks primed for these types of moments against these types of fields, Rick.
Yeah, I mean, the quality of the wins is also huge,
Most
right?
certainly.
I mean, he won 4 massive events. So when you get to a field that has a strength of field that rivals major championships and those, WGCs, RIP, it is something he's not going to blink, right? And he's beaten these guys before. He's been the name at the top of some of these absolutely massive fields, and this one feels like a major championship. We've heard it countless times from players and caddies and everybody involved that this feels like a major championship. There's a lot of money on the line. Scottie does not care.
Did you see the shot he hit, Joe, into, I don't know if we have it, hopefully we have it on here, into 16 today? So he hits it, and he talked about this afterward. He hits this iron shot into 16, and it lands 10 feet left of the pin, and then it rolls off the green to the right. And he said it was, he talked about it afterward, of like, that's a very unusual situation, and I think it speaks to how difficult this golf course is playing and how kind of fast and firm these greens are getting.
He's sitting at 10, but there aren't a whole lot of red numbers when you look at the entirety of the field here. Impressive golf being played by both Scottie Scheffler and the Chase Pack. We're going to get to that Chase Pack here in just a moment on the First Cut podcast. We're going to take a quick break, but on the other side, we'll also have a story from Kyle Porter about, let's call it a players-only Porta-John encounter. More on that.
Porta potty. What
in
a
just
lead.
a moment.
Yeah.
Back on the First Cut podcast, live from the WM Phoenix Open alongside Kyle Porter, Rick Gehman. I'm Joe Musso. Fellas, we're just about halfway through. Some work still to be done early on Saturday morning, but we are addressing the Chase Pack. Most certainly, Jon Rahm has been in just about every Chase Pack when he's not at the top of the leaderboards. Rahm played 23 holes as he did not finish his round 1 on Thursday. 5 under, 8 under total here for the tournament as our video guests here take a look at the leaderboard. Rahm at 8 after a 5 under. Am I wrong here, guys, to say that it's about as pedestrian of an 8 under first 2 days of a golf tournament that we could see? It's just unbelievable what he continues to do when it feels like he doesn't have maybe his ace stuff.
Well, Rick can probably dive into this further, but he's lost strokes on approach so far this week, Joe, which is that you can't shoot 8 under and lose strokes on approach, and yet he's done it.
Yeah.
And he's only, so I was looking back at his results, Rick, and he's only lost strokes on approach in 5 of his last 25 events.
Right.
So what that tells me, especially based on the way he's been playing over the last 3 months, is he's coming with the iron play on Saturday and Sunday, right? And he actually talked about this. I thought this was really interesting. He talked about this after his round, and this is where, if you're a viewer, if you're watching at home, this is something to watch for. He talked about how holes 7, 8, and 9, so he hits it to 31 feet, 41 feet, 25 feet. None of those are great shots in terms of proximity to give yourself birdie looks, but he's saying, when he's asked about it after his round, like, look, those are good iron shots. They just got batted away by the wind. They just got rejected by some of these firm greens. So I think his confidence level and the way he feels about his game is a little bit belied by what the approach numbers say, which I think is really interesting and something to just keep an eye on as we go into round 3 and 4.
Yeah, let's dive into this a little bit statistically, because it's been a little bit weird for Rahm. You just saw him hoop that long one there on 7 for par. Opens up 68-66. He's down just a hair on approach for the week. As much as I love the Scottie Scheffler stat line where you gain a ton from tee to green, you're not relying on the putter, the stat line that we're seeing from Jon Rahm is one of a bounce back, one of a rebound, one where he is about to snap snap off and potentially go ham on the weekend. Like that's what this is setting up to be, because we know, and as you mentioned, Kyle, he doesn't often lose strokes on approach over 4 rounds. Now, even when he does, this is the scary part, he is capable of winning golf tournaments. He lost 2 strokes on approach and goes out and wins the Tournament of Champions, our first elevated designated event. Maybe he goes 2 for 2 here, but this is a scary thought for the rest of the field when Rahm could potentially get going on the weekend.
And I think, to my point, I think Rahm is very, at least in my experience with him, he's very honest about, hey, this is where my game's at. And so when he says, hey, I'm hitting good shots even on some of these approaches that get rejected, that should be concerning for Scottie Scheffler. Right, because if that clicks into place on Saturday, he could go 65-65, and that's what 5 of 9, whatever, and that's a wrap on. I mean,
so that's exactly where I wanted to take you, because we're always looking for the narrative wrapped around the numbers. How does the way that he's been playing over the last month and a half affect the way he's perceived by his competition?
Well, this was interesting too, because he got asked about the world rankings, which I'd love to never talk about the world rankings again. But he got asked about the world rankings, and he said, "Listen, I've been playing worse and been number 1, and now I'm playing better than times when I've been number 1, and I'm number, what is he, 3? Scheffler's 2?
Feels right.
It is right. Feels right.
Feels right.
We'll go with it.
Feels right is basically my entire Twitter feed for the last 6 weeks of people saying, "Well, this is what it feels like." Well, this is what the math says. So I'm sorry if you have a problem with math. Rahm is so confident about the way that he is playing right now, and I think that guys, like here's the thing, Joe. Players aren't looking at they're not getting on the OWGR and saying, "Oh gosh, Rahm's number 1 right now. That's a problem." They're playing with John Rahm or going to the range and saying that guy's a problem.
Yeah.
It doesn't matter if he's 1, 15, 20. They know what he's capable of doing, and I think that that more than what the rankings are is what guys are paying attention.
Strokes gained feared? Is that can we get into that? Strokes gained feared? He might be leading the tour this season.
Yeah, I mean that's pretty. I mean, if you've ever seen John Rahm, you don't get a lot of this on television, but when you get out on the golf course, John Rahm does the 1,000-yard stare straight ahead, slightly down, and just don't get in his way. Like, he will run anybody over, and there's few guys that get dialed in like that. You'll see there's a lot of nice guys out here. There's a lot of guys who will give you thank you, thanks for coming out, thumbs up when you call out their name. John Rahm gives you nothing, and that is not quantifiable in a spreadsheet. That is coming out here and watching John Rahm for 4.5 hours or whatever it takes, be laser focused.
I'd be interested to see, Joe, if you polled every player on the PGA Tour, if they had to write down who's the guy that you least want to see at the top of the board, I bet Rahm's up there. Might be the guy. Because he's different than Rory. Rory's heater is just insane. I mean, it's like those nights when Steph gets hot. And you're like, I have to watch this. Like, I can't. This is the only thing I want to do. But with Rahm, it's like you just know he's not going to come back to the field, and I think that is almost more mentally taxing on somebody that's chasing than maybe like kind of the Rory formula.
Well, speaking of the field, let's get to some other names, and with all due respect to the Adam Hadwins and Wyndham Clarks of the world, I need a Sanjay take from our foremost expert here, Rick Gehman.
Not me.
Rick, I was over on 16. We had some awesome access throughout the week, and especially here on Friday, and watched him pour one in from about 35 feet to really jumpstart. I don't think is the word on the round, but he's not done with round 2 just yet, and there he is sitting just a few back. Where are you at on Sanjay and the way he's met this moment in Phoenix?
Yeah, it's gonna be difficult for him to win, but you gotta love the way his game sets up for a lot of different golf courses. Think about the 2 wins that he does have, right? He's got the win at PGA National at Honda, where the winning score was 3 or 4 under par, something like that. Things getting really difficult. You see here he goes out in 30. That's the back
he
nine.
was jump started by the time he got there to 16.
Yeah, and he's still got a handful of holes to play in his second round, but then he goes out and he wins at TPC Summerlin, and it was like 25 under. I mean, he's got basically both ends of the game, and when you get out on a firm, fast golf course this week, you look towards next week as well, where he hits the ball so well from tee to green, and then he can get hot with the putter. That's the really scary stuff for Sanjay. We saw it a little bit at the Masters, where his around the green play, his short game is magical. He's got great touch, so he can kind of be a problem when he has all facets working, especially on more difficult golf courses.
Kyle, when you take a look at Sanjay, what he's is really doing here, and especially that 30 that he posts. Sustainability, probably not the word, but in the way that he's embraced what's happening around him in this moment, does it surprise you at all?
No, I mean, so coming into the year, I think the two names that I looked at of guys that haven't won in a while that I thought were kind of, I don't know if due is the right word, but that I thought were going to win in 2023, it was Cam Young. And it was Sungjae. Sungjae is, we talk about underrated, Rick. I think Sungjae is one of the most underrated guys in the world. He's such a good driver. He's such a good ball striker. And so he's been playing at that level where you're like, okay, a win's coming, a win's coming. This would be a great place for him to get it just because of what's at stake, how much money's at stake. The fact that it's the first full field designated event. I think I'd be a little surprised if he won just because you got Scheffler and Rahm at the top, but I wouldn't be surprised at all if he contended into Sunday.
And KP, you said a day ago that these are horses and they're going to get out and galloping. I don't know that we've had our break yet. We still got them all packed up, and there's some great names that are sneaky close to the top of that leaderboard right now. I mean, we're looking at Jordan. We're looking at Ricky, who put together a really nice round. JT, not too far back. Rory will be there in a moment. But as you sort of assess those big names still in shouting distance, who's the most live in your eyes?
Well, and I think this is really cool, Joe, because this is when the PGA Tour, we were talking about this, when the PGA Tour laid out its designated events, this is what it wanted right here.
Yeah.
Scheffler, Rahm, Sungjae, Jay Day. You go further down, Xander, the guy that I'd like to talk about, Jordan Spieth. The top three guys in approach shots this week, Joe, Scottie's 1, Spieth is 2, and Xander is 3. Spieth's a little bit further back. He just made bogey, I believe, should drop back to 5 under. So he's 5 back, but he's got some par 5s upcoming that
the big thing.
He could make some hay on early on Saturday morning as he finishes up his second round. But I can't get over how well this has played out for the tour.
Yeah.
Of like big time event, everybody's here, great leaderboard, kind of great conditions for the top players to thrive. When you talk about ball striking winning the day, they've gotten the kind of weather where I think this is a course where ball striking already wins today, but the weather exacerbates that.
For sure. I think we're dangerously close to this turning into a 2-horse race, especially depending on what happens in round 3 with Scottie and John Rahm. But you mentioned the guys who still have holes to play. The holes that they have to play, for Xander Schauffele, for example, 13, that's a par 5, 15's a par 5, 17's a short, potentially drivable or birdieable, very easy par 4. And now you wonder, okay, is someone going to take advantage in the restart, the resumption of play early on Saturday, finish the round? Can Xander Schauffele get 2 more strokes in, get to 8 under, and throw his name into making this a 3-horse race over the course of the weekend? Now, on the restart on Friday morning, Rahm didn't really take advantage of the restart. Max Homa went in the opposite direction. The only guy who really took advantage of it was Jason Day. It's not easy. It's going to be chilly. You're going to have to be thrown right into the meat of a round. So it's not super, crazy for it to happen or for these guys to struggle as well.
Can you imagine Spieth going to 16 and 17 on Saturday, Sunday, needing numbers?
Right.
It's going to be psychotic. It's going to be unbelievable.
It is going to be psychotic. All the big names are out there, and they are bopping. And we got to see a bunch of them up close and personal in moments between shots, let's call it. After JT finishes up his round, he gets to the back of the range here right behind us, grinds for about an hour and a half, really looking for something. But he puts together a 3-under round, which sort of spurred our thought process, or the experiment we like to go through of how far back is too far back. It's always a fun conversation. And as we were approaching that conversation, I posed that question to you, Kyle Porter. What happened? Let's tell the folks what happened when I say how far back is too far back. Well, Justin Thomas sitting at 3. You say what?
I said, well, what's Rory at? Because Rory's playing. He's kind of finishing, or he's kind of at the back half.
That time was at 2 when the horn blew. He's at 3. But when this occurred, he was sitting at 2, and you said,
what did I say?
I believe you said, I think Rory's too far back. And just like that, Rick Gehman, out of the corner of our eye,
right here,
Rory McIlroy appears. What's up, guys?
Yeah. You say his name and he shows up.
Well, let's not gloss over the fact that he was in the middle of his round.
He had just hit a 340-yard drive.
Yeah, there's context here, right?
Yeah,
so we are 20 yards away from 2 porta potties, right? Player only porta potties, right next to a 11 fairway here. Rory McIlroy smokes his drive down 11, and I guess needs to find some relief. And we're playing the game. We're playing the how far back is too far back. Kyle says, "What's Rory at?" I say 2 under. Kyle says, "I think he's too far back," and Rory says, "Hey guys, can I use this?"
It was absolutely perfect, and then he emerges from the bathroom, and you pose the question to him.
Yes.
I said, "Hey, we're doing a segment. How far back is too far back?" By the way, is this
helicopters?
Is this an invasion?
There's a lot happening right now.
I said,
in Phoenix.
I said, how far back is too far back? He knows he's at 2 under. He knows Scottie's at 10 under, and he said, well, it's not 8.
It's not 8.
He doesn't think 8 is too far back.
Thinks he's got a chance.
And now he's 7. So he probably doesn't think 7
Rory
is
McIlroy, never too far back, and he puts together a nice round after struggling here in round 1. He has some golf to be played too before he wraps up his round 2. So still plenty of movement coming here. We're going to get to some live numbers and some picks and some Tiger Woods news coming down here on Friday. That's all coming up next on the First Cut Podcast, live from the WM Phoenix Open. Back on the First Cut Podcast, Kyle Porter, Rick Gehman, Joe Musso, as the situation both on the scoreboard and around us on set is developing by the moment here, guys. So let's get to some news that was made early in the day. Tiger Woods, got to put it on the pod here, going to be in the field next week at the Genesis. Kind of comes out of nowhere in some ways, announces it in a tweet, Kyle. It's exciting. It's going to be. And the expectation, maybe we put it aside. But as you've had a little bit of time to chew on this piece of news, what's your prevailing thought right now?
Well, I think, Joe, it's a little bit emblematic of what Tiger is going to be for the rest of his career. And what I mean by that is, remember last year when he withdrew from the PGA Championship after the 3rd round, and you're like, oh, that's like, I thought he was grinding, he was trying to get through it. But he's going to have moments where his leg is not cooperating, where he's not feeling well, and I guess my point is he's going to have tournaments where he plays and you didn't expect it. He's going to have tournaments where he doesn't play and you did expect it. That's just the whole deal. Like that's just what it is at this point. And so, is it surprising? Maybe a little. Players. Patrick McDonald wrote something for us, Rick, on CBSSports.com. Players were a little bit surprised by it. Max Homa said that.
Already offering his services?
Max Homa said they might have to carry him down the hill at Riv, and he was like, I'll do it. That's fine. Like, whatever.
No objections.
And I just think that it is representative of I think the surprise of it is a little bit representative of what we're going to see from Tiger for the rest of his career.
Yeah, it was a really fun day, right? Yeah. I mean, we had a great day out here. We were just about to go on and do a run, and we all got the text notification, right, or the tweet notification.
You got straight from Tiger?
Straight, he gave me.
You had it first.
Yeah,
that's breaking news.
And it was so nonchalant. I don't know. It was not a scripted statement. It was I want to play an actual PGA Tour event, and I think that's interesting because it's been majors and matches for him. That's the one thing that we've seen, and it's been over 800 days since he's played a non-major PGA Tour event. And this run that we're on, where it was already the first of the designated events here, then going to Riv, and then we were going to be at Bay Hill and the play. Like, it was already going to be a great run. The PGA Tour seems like they're getting a leaderboard here that is deserving of kind of everything that's happening. And then, oh, by the way, let's just inject Tiger Woods into this. It's unbelievable.
I found it interesting, Kyle, last year at the Open Championship. It was like the first time we had that admission of, I'm here to be here. I'm maybe not here to lift the claret jug. I'm maybe not here to do things that those goals that I usually set out in front of myself. Was that a one-off? Do you think we get back to the undistilled, I want to come out here and win this thing? Or was that sort of the first look at what it's going to be when Tiger Woods does get out on a golf course? We know what the expectation is, but I think you said it great earlier, Rick, that you don't know if you believe that's what he believes.
Right.
What do you think he believes when he takes it out on the golf course here next week?
No, I think you're right. I think it was the first of several years of, competing, but not contending. Right. So I go back to the first, when was that? 2021, the Hero World Challenge. And Tiger, it was right before he announced that he was playing in the PNC with his son, with Charlie. And he said, I climbed that mountain. I can't remember the exact wording. The exact wording is actually important. But he said something like, I climbed that mountain a final time, meaning I won the 2019 Masters.
Yeah.
And I think the will to do that again, to put his body through what it takes to do that again, and not just his body, but mentally, to go through that grind again. I don't... Even if he wanted to, I don't think physically he could anymore. And so I think it's the first of many showing up to compete, but not necessarily to contend.
Right. Let's remember the body. Let's remember the physical side of things. It feels very much like a trial run, right? What can my body take? I'm not sure he knows at this point, right? And I think there's a lot of fluidity in his recovery. Some days are going to be better than others. And this feels like, hey, can I get through 4 rounds of PGA Tour competition, whether it is with my A game, my B game, my C game, and just make sure that my body can kind of get through it, because then I'll have time to recover and figure out what my next steps are. If things go really well, maybe I go to Bay Hill. I don't know. Probably seems like a little bit much. But just to feel what it feels like in competition before you have to get to Augusta National for the first full week in April.
Who's the most likely to carry him down the hill at Riv?
Harry Higgs.
Is he in the field?
I don't know. Well, he get a little sponsor's invite.
The good folks at CBS sent us out there. It's us three. I want to see him play as much golf as we can watch him play.
Byron Leftwich and
the offensive lineman working Leftwich down. That ended nicely. So we'll see what Tiger can pull off next week. But it's just going to be great to see Tiger Woods playing competitive golf once again. And as he said in his tweet, it's all he really wants to do. What I learned yesterday, guys, is that the First Cut Podcast Army, they don't love change. It is great to be co-hosting this alongside you guys here, but they want what they want, so let's give them what they want. We got to address the numbers here at the WM. Live numbers. Where's our value, Rick, as we take a look at some of the names and the attached numbers as we are almost 2 rounds through?
Yeah, we love the First Cut crew. Joe's doing a great job. Lay off at Joe. But I think there's a couple of situations here, and Kyle and I were just kind of talking about this in the break. There's the guys that are already in the clubhouse, which, for me, Scottie Scheffler at plus 180 with the stat line that he's putting out and how good and consistent he has been from tee to green over the course of the last year, that stands out to me. I don't love betting the guy who's got the shortest odds on Friday night, but I just love the stat profile. But then we have this group of guys that has not finished their second round yet, and the holes that they have to play are birdie holes. Xander Schauffele still has to play 13, 15, the 2 par 5s, and 17 is gettable. KP, Jordan Spieth in a similar situation. He's got all those circle opportunities ahead, and those guys are a little bit longer than they probably should be. There's a chance that if things go right in the morning, they're a lot closer and a lot shorter. So if you can get there now on some of those guys that haven't finished yet, that's great. If not, some of the guys are already in the clubhouse like Scottie.
Yeah, well, Rahm's going to win, so that's that's a problem. But if for some reason he doesn't, the value I think is Spieth, actually, which.
Really? You think?
Imagine saying that 7 days ago.
Well, I'm going to regret saying it today, but the thing about it, he's 5 under. He's, I think, 28 to 1.
Yeah.
He's through what, 12?
Through 12.
So he's through 12. So he's got 13 birdie hole. I mean, the top 4 birdie hole, or the top 4 easiest holes on the course this week are 3.
We did, not to cut you out, we did do this last night with Rahm. We had him posting a number, and he comes out, he bogeys, he plays his last holes in even par. But go on.
So we'll try it again.
Spieth has a 5-footer for birdie on 13.
So he'll probably 2-putt from there.
Hopefully. Yeah.
No, I mean, he'll 2-putt that for bogey.
Oh. Well, no, he would 2-putt that for par.
Excuse me. He will 3-putt from there.
Oh, that one didn't hit as well.
Yeah, that was tough. We've been out here a long time. Spieth at 28 to 1. He legitimately, he could be at 8 under by the end of the round, or by the end of his round, and tied with Rahm. He could be in the second. He could be in the last group.
If he's 8 under at the end of his round 2, he will be like 8 or 9 to 1. And what is he right now? 28. Yeah, 28.
He should be more like 20 to 22.
So is he like 15 to 1 to make 2 birdies?
I mean,
no. Because he's got one for 5 feet.
That's a fantastic way to frame it.
Yeah.
Looking at 5 feet, if he can obviously convert there, unlike what Kyle expects from him. But this is the buy now opportunity on Jordan Spieth, maybe the last one for the rest of this week.
Yeah, I think so, because once Spieth, who is just, you know how that goes. Like, once he's in the single digits, you can't touch that.
Yeah.
But at 28, touch the whole thing.
And on that note, sometimes being a good host is knowing when to put the microphone down. Rick Gehman, you say goodbye today.
Oh, wow. Okay. We'll be back after round 3.
This is terrifying. He just
and
gave
round
us
4.
complete autonomy here.
I know, we should never have done this. Of the First Cut podcast for Joe Musso, for Kyle Porter, I'm Rick Gehman. This has been the First Cut. We'll catch you next time.